Today is Monday, October 20th, 2025, and it is almost 5:30 in the morning. Very weird time once again that I'm uploading, mostly because I've been on vacation, believe it or not. And even though as of right now on the overnight market, my account is up over 3%, I'm still down roughly 20K from where I once was. If we take a look back, so about 305-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah, about 305, so roughly down 20K from my highs. But I'm honestly not really stressing over it. This is kind of what I wanted. I wanted the market to kind of cool down, for Robinhood to cool down. But the thing that pains me more than being down 20K is actually the stupid Uber mess fee of like $225. If any of you guys have been on an Uber and you were charged the mess fee of $225, you know exactly how I feel right now. Yeah, long story short, if you guys are ever on vacation and you don't really want to pay for Uber Black because it's slightly more expensive and you think you're going to save money by going with like the cheaper one, lesson learned. Long story short, I was in an Uber. I had my bottle of water, right? The condensation from the water bottle got on the seat. So it looks like there's a mess on the seat when in reality, it's just water condensation, right? And I don't know how it works on their end whenever Uber drivers report these messes. But if they're just going based off of photos, then obviously it's going to look very bad. So yeah, I did get charged with a $225 Uber mess fee just for water condensation, which is so stupid. But anyways, another thing that kind of pains me more than being down about 20K from my all-time highs is I spent about 1% of my net worth on this trip. Actually, slightly more than 1% of my net worth. Literally in the span of like 3 days. Yeah, in 3 days, I spent 1% of my net worth. So even though I am down, what is it, like 10% from my highs? That doesn't pain me at all for some reason. It's spending 1% of my net worth that actually pains me. And I don't know, maybe some of you guys can relate to that. Maybe I'm crazy, right? Because theoretically 10% is more than 1%, right? But for some reason, market fluctuations, they just don't really get to me. But like me spending money actually does. But anyways, back to the subject at hand, which is the market. It does kind of seem like the market is making that lower high as this week, which is slightly unfortunate because I did not close out any covered calls last week. If we take a look at my transaction history, I did have to go ahead and pay that Robinhood margin interest. I got a very puny $1 Royal Caribbean dividend, and then I did have one covered call that I closed on the 13th that I'm pretty sure I shared with you guys. It was a long time ago. I haven't posted a video in like 5 days. But anyways, I am up a decent amount on quite a few of my covered calls. My 150 strike, I am up over $1,000 in that one, which is amazing. And then I have two slightly over $400 in each of those. So about like roughly maybe $2,000 that I was up in my covered calls. But of course, tomorrow at market open, those will probably be down. But it is what it is. I've been seeing a lot of talk on social media and X saying 120 is going to be the bottom for Robinhood. This is the dip you need to buy. And that still kind of scares me. Well, it scares me, but it also makes me happy because, obviously if Robinhood keeps going up, I make money. If everybody's excited about it and they're buying this dip thinking that it is the dip and then it goes down even more, well, then that also makes me happy because almost all of my covered calls are going to expire worthless. So I'm in a pretty decent position, I'm not going to lie. Of course, we have Solana that broke under 200, which is unfortunate for any big Solana shareholders or crypto holders, whatever you guys call yourselves. But Robinhood is up over 3% right now. Nike barely up right now. Palantir up over 1%. And if we take a look at the current price for Robinhood, it kind of seems like it's in that middle ground. Like I said, a lower high. I believe the previous high was around 150, somewhere in the 150s. right? And everybody's thinking that 120 is going to be the bottom. It's going to be the dip, right? So 135 is kind of perfect, right? It's in that middle ground. So I'm thinking most likely we'll kind of chop around from here, possibly dip all the way down to 100. And something that I almost forgot to mention is there's something I saw on X where people are talking about event contracts, sports betting, etc., and possibly more regulation coming in for it. So maybe that could be a potential, news event that corresponds with Robinhood going down slightly more. Like I said, all the way down to 100 is very possible. But as of right now on the charts, we've had this period of consolidation here, obviously starting from, July? And then, of course, it broke out over here in September. So it was just kind of a retest, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people are saying it's the bottom. And of course, like I said, support right here. So a lot of people are saying 120. It's also the 50-day moving average, I believe. I believe that's the 50. But like I said, 100 is very possible. It's not even the 200-day moving average. So I don't know why people are just overlooking this possibility, because theoretically stocks could go all the way down to their 200, right? Which would still be kind of bullish, if that makes any sense. Usually people think stocks that are above the 200-day moving average are bullish. I never really went with that thought process, but it is something that a lot of technical people look at, right? A lot of technical traders. So if Robinhood goes all the way down to 80, it's still above the 200-day moving average, which is kind of scary. But like I said, 100, very possible. And of course, we have the comments that we got to get into. But I just wanted to mention, after I read off the comments, I do want to test out something on the Robinhood Gold app that I haven't done yet, which is redeeming my points for cash back. And I want to see if I actually get that 3% match on my IRA if I take that cash back and I actually deposit it in the IRA, which would be very cool, right? Because you're already getting 3% on the gold card, but then on top of that, you're going to get another 3% on that 3%, right? Depositing it into your Roth IRA. So if that is actually a thing, I think the Robinhood Gold card is very high value. But I'm pretty sure we did leave off on Porsche Guy on the last video. So we're going to go with Untempful. He says, should I buy the dip? And of course, this was 5 days ago. And I responded by saying, I don't know your situation, dude. And then you said, I've got 10K kind of just sitting in the account with 4.25% interest I'm getting, which is not bad at all. 4.25, that's more than what I'm getting. I believe SoFi is like 3.8, right? And for me, I think my gold is like 3.75, something like that. So 4.25 is not bad at all. But like I said, I don't know your situation, so I can't really comment on, what decisions you should make or anything like that. Obviously, do your research, which is something that everybody always says. It's just a cliche at this point. But for sure, just keep risk management in mind at all times. Risk management is probably the most important thing in the stock market. Now, I would say the second most important thing is your allocation, right? The actual stocks you pick, obviously, and how much you actually put into those. And we have Taking Leaps that says you can buy any dip you want. It's whether or not you can handle if it dips more, which is true. Are you going to buy more? Do you have enough money to buy? I don't know, but okay, I think you meant to say, I don't know you, brother. But if I was your financial advisor, sure, but not right now. I don't know if you actually are a financial advisor, but I guess it is what it is. We have Bear Grylls says, back in the day, man, I rode 2,000 shares of Palantir to 40 and thought I was a genius. Now it's in the hundreds, a crash now. Meanwhile, crash time now. Okay, well, first of all, you should never get emotional about, your previous trading decisions. Obviously, it sucked that you let go of Palantir at 40, but this is also why you let your winners ride. If you want to take a little bit of profits, right, you could have easily sold 1,000 shares on the way up, right? Maybe sell at 40, a little bit at 50, 60, etc., until you're down to 1,000, and then just like keep the 1,000 shares, right? Forever, just ride it. But I mean, then you comment again, we want cheapies. I don't know what you mean by that. But we have Leave No Evident, an OG of the channel. He says, to be honest, I think 120s will be the bottom, which is, of course, like I said, something that I've been hearing a lot of on social media, mostly X. Oh, by the way, slightly off topic, but X temporarily banned me because they thought I was like doing some kind of hate speech or whatever. It was a post about dieting, health, intermittent fasting, and I have no idea what about the comment even remotely came across as violent or like against policy. But literally, I was talking to someone about dieting, like health, intermittent fasting, that sort of topic, and it got flagged. So I don't know what's going on with Elon and X lately. I thought it was supposed to be the free speech platform, but I guess we can't even talk about food. We have Tia saying, love the vids, bro. Appreciate you. I'll give that a like. I'll give you a like too. Leave No Evident. You're an OG of the channel. We got thoughts on the future of uranium stocks. Honestly, I don't know anything about uranium. I think energy in general is still pretty bullish, just because I think, if my memory serves me correct, it's been consolidating for a while now. And energy, I would say it's fairly cheap. Gas right now is like, what, $2.50? So it's not like, lockdown level cheap where gas was like, what, $1.50? But it's also not super expensive, like $5 range plus. So I think there is, a slight possibility that energy will go up from here. We've seen crypto go up, we've seen gold go up. It seems like everything's going up, but energy is like pinned down. So, I mean, it is possible. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not an energy expert. But we have a call that says my 170 December covered call in Robinhood went down really nicely today. And yeah, it did for me too. Like I said, I made about $2,000 that I could have just cashed in on Friday, but it is what it is. We'll see where it goes from here. We have Aro Mata that says new trader here, started with 6K, been making a lot of money with penny stocks. Do you ever invest in penny stocks? Not really. I have Honest, that is somewhat a penny stock, but I don't like to chase penny stock. And honestly, I don't really know what the appeal is about penny stocks anymore, because we live in an age where you can literally buy fractionals of a company you actually want, right? Like maybe like back in the day, if you didn't have enough to buy a full share of like, for example, Nvidia, right? Back when it was in the hundreds of dollars before all the stock splits, Tesla before the stock splits, Amazon, etc. If you couldn't afford a full share, obviously you would just avoid buying the company or whatever. But we live in an age now where you can literally buy fractionals. So I don't really understand the appeal of penny stocks. And yeah, every now and then you might catch a quick pump or whatever, but you can also make a lot of money in decent companies, right? Actual mega cap companies, but it is what it is. We have Peanut Butter that says, hey man, really impressive growth in your account. How do you decide, or how do you do your research on stock and decide what to buy? So I did post a video about this in the past. Oh, you also said, by the way, 120 split between Fidelity and Robinhood, 18 years old, not much income other than from this. I mean, that's pretty decent. 120 at 18. That is a lot better actually than when I was 18. When I was 18, I didn't even have stocks. So that is pretty good, man. You will definitely be much more ahead than I am if you keep making the proper decisions. But in terms of what my process is, I believe there's a video I posted that says why I bought Hood at 10, or like something along those lines. The title is something bought Hood at $10. But to explain it very briefly, I like to buy companies that I think have very good business models that can grow, not like forever, but basically forever, if that makes any sense. Something that is very easy for me to understand. Obviously, a company that's very profitable, a very good technical setup along when it comes to the actual chart of the stock, a very good fundamental setup, and I can actually see a story playing out, right? For example, the example I always use, Robinhood at $10 a share back when it was consolidating, which is a technical term. I saw the moving averages starting to converge. I saw a breakout retest, right? Everything that's like picture perfect for technicals alongside fundamentals that were very good. Like roughly 10% free cash flow yield. They're buying back stock. They're flipping into profitability, growing revenues, right? Constantly releasing new features, new revenue streams. So fundamentals were also ticking up, and I could actually see a story playing out there. And also financial services, fintech, and just tech in general, right? That business model is almost perfect because if you make money off of assets, right, the stock market, that theoretically goes up forever. As long as you're a good brokerage, right, and people's assets keep going up, you'll quote unquote keep making more money. I don't know if that makes any sense, but very high profit margins in a business where theoretically it should always go up. It's a lot different from like selling bags of chips and little cans of soda, where it's a little bit more price sensitive, and people might be they might have sticker shock, right? If they're used to buying a can of Pepsi for $1 and then they wake up tomorrow, go to the store, and it's $1.50, well, then there's a little bit of sticker shock there, right? But if they buy a stock for $1 and tomorrow it's $1.50, well, now they're happy, right? And you're also making more money because you're making like fees off of the amount of assets that they have, right? If you're charging 1%, well, 1% on 100K is a lot more than 1% on 1,000. So I just thought that business model was perfect. And Robinhood, the brand, is also very well known. It's a lot more well known than some of the competitors in fintech, like Webull or whatever. All the various competitors that Robinhood has, they just have a much more well-known brand. So I just thought everything was lining up perfectly. And of course, another reminder that I sold AMD too early. But we also have leave no evident once again that says almost broke even on my hood covered calls. Let it drop some more. Never again will I go all in like this. Only scale into covered calls. For sure, definitely. That's kind of what I've been doing on my covered calls. So some of my covered calls are in like a lot of profit, and some of them are still in red. So like I said, it doesn't really matter to me if Robinhood keeps going up from here. It is what it is. If it goes down to 100, then it'll all expire worthless, or I can cash out. But we also have Kushin, whatever your name is. Have you seen Iran? Honestly, I do not know what that stock is. We have a comment on one of my really old videos. We have Onda that says, on the Russell, all my stocks are small caps. My portfolio down 30% this week. Still at 400% for this year. Can't complain. Very impressive. 400% year to date. That's amazing. I think I'm only like 100 something, maybe 150. But yeah, your portfolio being down 30%, it sounds like a very volatile portfolio, so that is to be expected. But congrats on the 400%. All right, so now we have my Robinhood Gold reward points, where I am currently sitting at roughly 11,000, right? So it's about $117.21. Let's see what it looks like if I go to redeem it. Let's see, cash back right here. So we'll drag this over to 100, see what that looks like.